Well, you know that Mr. Stone and Mr. Mateus are both pretty big racists. So this week, we're throwing some chairs at Little Racer's Street. It's by Milkstone Studios. It's done in the Quasar engine, which is really just XNA and mono game. It is $7.99 or €5.99, and it's a little arcade racer thingy that goes woo 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 as you race your vehicle through a track. It's a racing game. How else can I describe it? So there's only one thing left to do, and that's cue the chair explanation. Yes. So we rate everything on a 4-chair metric based on 4 categories. 1 chair means that it's shit. 2 chairs means that it's meh. 3 chairs means that it's pretty good. And 4 chairs means that Pedro will not stop talking about it for the next 2 weeks. We also have our categories: Doom, mixed with the working, how does it work, how does it run, general operations on the Linux operating system, shiny and sounds, oral, auditory, visual goodness. It's all about that stuff. And controls are self-explanatory, as is fun. So then, Little Racer Street. You've been asking for a racing game for so long under Linux. Does this game, is it up to snuff? Does it make with the working?
Now, does it make it with the working? Now, this is something that we have to look at like right now. Because if you'd asked me this a week ago, no, nothing really made with the working at all whatsoever. I mean, it launched, I'll give it that, but it was like a ginormous cock tease. It was like,
everyone was having issues.
Do you want to play? You want to play? And I was like, yes, I would like to play. And they're like, too bad. So, when it comes to make with the working, the developers actually said this the previous week. They said in the next update, we will try, quote unquote, to generate a debug log when the game crashes so they can help sort out some of the issues, because when this thing launched, it was genuinely busted. But right now, as of recording, it works, but it still has issues. We'll talk more about that in the controls. So, really all I can give it, in fairness, is going to be 2 chairs. J-Man. Oh,
well,
hang on.
Now.
That was on our base test system, 1204 LTS 32-bit 770. All right.
Well, you know what? Ben tries. Oh my God, does he try? Anyways, on our Fedora 20 powered AMD 1090T 670 superclock powered box here, because I didn't test it on the AMD box because I was being co-opted by my roommate who's been playing some PlayStation 3 game. I don't know, it's something about lightning. No idea. Anyways, on the NVIDIA Power Test box, worked pretty well. Aside from all the menus being completely misaligned initially, they've since fixed it. But I mean, come on, man, you're releasing a game. Don't save all the QA until after people have given you money. So you get 3 chairs for being pretty good, but come on, guys. At least you fixed your issues.
So I'm the odd man out on this one, because on the calculator with an AMD 5650 HD with an Intel i3 CPU, it ran out of the box. On my 9-year-old desktop PC with an NVIDIA 5600 GS and an Intel dual-core E6400, it also ran out of the box. So 4 chairs for me.
Whoa. That's quite the amount of chairs for Makes with the Working. Totals up to 3 chairs as a total for Makes with the Working. Shiny and sounds. Ven, did this tickle your eye pussies?
Let's take a look at this.
Your pussies.
Well, I'm talking about a rather aged Xbox 360 game, so I kind of came in expecting that. And to be perfectly honest, there's really nothing visually impressive with this game, but I wasn't expecting a whole lot. What I was expecting as wouldn't, because I assume all the textures and everything was meant for the 720p display of the original Xbox 360. At 1080p, it just looks like a stretched out mess. Visually looks better at 720 in a window than stretched out at 1080. Nothing terribly impressed by this. Some of the modes, when you get behind the car, you can really see that, yes, there are textures, but that's about it. And we're talking about running this on Ultra. And that's another thing. With the shiny and sounds, the sounds, they're there, but I cut them down because I don't really want to listen to anything other than other people screaming at me, or myself screaming for running into things. I'm like, no, ow, quit, arr. So that's a thing. I don't know what I was expecting, but a little bit more than what was delivered. So I'm just going to give it a 1 share for that. Not impressed. J-Man?
Yeah, I wasn't too impressed with the audio and the visuals either. I mean, really, they were all just bland. The game is not remarkable in any sense for sounds and video, but can't give it 1 share because they at least the cars at least looked like cars. The tracks looked like tracks. It worked. It's not great, so it gets a middle of the road score. It gets 2 chairs.
Again, I'm the odd man out because this is Micro Machines. It's Micro Machines 2014, and the last time I played Micro Machines was on this thing. Yeah, that's a Game Boy Color you're looking at right there. The graphics on this thing were not particularly impressive. The graphics on this game, and the fact that the game ran as smoothly as it did, at least for me, I really have no complaints. And also, bonus points for having a variety of camera angles that actually bring out the best in the game. 4 chairs for me.
Okay, okay. I just need to understand this for a second. You are giving it a very good score based on the fact that it has better graphics than a Game Boy Color.
It has
Truly,
better
this is
graphics
the
than
future. What
any
kind of
Micro
boot
Machines
technology?
game ever released. It
What
had
kind of boot
better
technology is this
graphics
on
than any Micro
personal
Machines
computers?
game ever
You can't
released.
play games on computers. They're for business applications and COBOL. But anyways, that's 2 chairs for shiny and sounds. Next is Control. Then I know you like getting a little drunk behind the wheel. Did it feel like you were drunk behind the wheel?
You know, at first, when it first started out, it wasn't bad. The controls worked when we first started playing it. The problem was the micro stuttering made the controls useless because it was completely unplayable. Then me and J-Man did a multiplayer thing, and I spent a good 10 minutes of watching me stuck with the handbrake on constantly, just, you know.
I am the least worst racist.
Basically, man. No, but seriously, I mean, the controls were, you know, I thought, okay, that's going to be fixed. But no, they were just fucking with me. So, what actually, now the handbrake bug in multiplayer is kind of fixed. I'm still seeing it from time to time. I ran into it last night, but completely better than last week. For the X-Clone controller, remapping the controls, they work. I'm happy with that. But then again, you still run into that handbrake always on occasion. Sometimes that can be sorted just by going in, reassigning, then reassigning. But, yeah, that's a bit of a trouble, so I can't give it a perfect score on that. But currently, right now, as it stands, solid 3 chairs with the controls. J-Man.
I do not play racing games. I think the only 2 racing games, actually no, the only 3 racing games I liked were Hydro Thunder for the N64, Kinetica for the PlayStation 2, and Mario Kart. So I'm not probably the best person to ask about racing game controls because my exposure to them has been horrifically limited. However, despite some initial issues at first, I got the hang of them. Honestly, I don't know what to say for this category. I have no real basis for comparison. So I'm just going to go with the safe bet. I'll give it 2 chairs. The controls work. Do they work particularly well? I'm not the person to ask. Maybe this guy is.
Yeah, so on my end, the PS2 DualShock controller worked out of the box. Didn't need to reassign anything. All the controls made sense for once. And to me, that's a very, very good thing because most racing games nowadays like to have some weird-ass controller config for some reason. And this one everything worked out of the box. Didn't see a need to use the keyboard or the mouse, so I didn't even touch them while I was in game. I think that's pretty good. 4 chairs.
That brings us to 3 chairs for the control section. And now, finally, our only subjective category, fun. Then, did you enjoy yourself?
Ultimately, kind of, sort of. And I say,
Sort of.
yeah, kind of, sort of, maybe. Maybe kind of, sort of. I don't know how exactly to put this together at this point. I mean, because it's been such a traumatic experience getting to a working game. And
an emotional roller coaster, you'd say?
Almost. I'm not necessarily thinking about us. I'm thinking about, people who've picked this game up over the past 2 weeks, and they got a really broken product that they've ended up, getting in the forums and help doing the QA and waiting for it to get fixed. And that's not something I really approve of.
Especially really for a paid game.
Think these guys should ship a working product. Because here's how it negatively affected me, is by the time I was done futzing with it and we actually sat down with everyone and we played a multiplayer game, I was so sick of futzing with it. And I was like, yeah, all right, we're finally at where we should have been on day one. Then I'm like, yeah, this is a neat little game. Now I'm like, well, that it works now, kind of, mostly. Because, it still stutters at 1080p on Ultra with a 770. No explanation for that whatsoever. And still having some handbrake issues, which does interfere with the fun, but it's not complete shit at all. I mean, it's a fun game. And you got to remember, it's still stuck in the back of my head of all the time it has just been a pain in the ass. So, I'm going to give it a meh, just in all fairness. That is being heavily influenced. I would definitely have given it a 3rd chair if I'd had the experience we had a couple of nights back from the go.
Flawless.
Right. J-Man.
Flawless victory.
What are your thoughts?
Oh, hey, my network connection decided to settle down. But racing games aren't really my thing. Like I said, I listed the 4 racing games I actually do enjoy earlier in the review. However, beating Ven in multiplayer as this game completely glitched out brings joy to what would normally be called a heart, but in me is some sort of shriveled up black thing. I don't know what the deal with that is. But anyways, honestly, the thing that kept me entertained for my entire playthrough of the game with these clowns is the fact that the love bus is basically so big and heavy. The one strategy is get in front of the guy in the lead and then just let him push you.
Yep, Jordan's a blocker.
That's his love life.
Yep. So, love bus, man. So, unfortunately, just because racing games aren't really my thing, maybe if it was working a lot better, and maybe if we could get like a consistently good multiplayer experience, I'd give it a higher rating. But 1 chair with an asteroid.
An asterisk it is. Me, on the other hand, I like racing games. I like a lot of different kinds of racing games, except for those F1 type things. Yeah, those don't sit well with me. But I like this game. It could use a bit more variety when it comes to, multiplayer games. Instead, it's just race. You could have like capture the flag, or I don't know, something.
Demolition Derby.
Demolition Derby, yeah. Anything. Just give us some variety. And the AI cheats like hell, and it made me throw this thing across the room 3 times in the first 2 hours. So it's frustrating as hell. But in the words of Yahtzee Croshaw, angry gets shit done. 3 chairs.
All right, well, that looks like it's going to be 2 chairs for fun. So we total this entire train wreck up, and we get to our final score of 2 chairs, which if we go back to our chair explanation is meh. Not sure if want. Experience for this game was pretty rocky from the get-go. What could have been a solid little racing game is fraught with issue upon issue upon issue. So it may not be your thing. If you do like racing games for Linux, according to these two guys, it's pretty fun, so check it out. If you don't mind handbrake glitching. I don't know. Then, final thoughts?
Final thoughts. I'm kind of with you. I mean, if you're a fan of like the top-down, now it does have multiple camera modes, but the one camera mode that I'd be looking for is, almost directly behind your motoring vehicle, and that's a shit angle. I mean, you can't really play that way. They put that in there. It's like, isn't that neat? And it's like, not really. So
Nope.
you're going to be forced to play it with the top down. Couple things like the car things. This is one thing Trackmania got right. They made all the cars the same. So you're actually playing against skill. These cars, your selections, are so radically different. If you get used to your one car where you're curb stomping everyone, then you're like, hey, look, I have points. I'm going to upgrade. Then you get this new vehicle. It's like, scratch everything that you know and relearn how to do it from naught. For the price, I'd say pick it up. Expect some problems. Good on the developers for working on it. Bad on the developers for releasing something without properly testing it. P-Man?
Yeah, it's not early access anymore, and judging by the amount of people that were actually having problems, and hey, right here at L.G.C, we have Ven, which usually games for him just work out of the box and they work fine. I'm usually the one who has problems. And for once on my end, it worked fine. I had no problems whatsoever. But him and tons of other people on the Steam forums, as you can read, they released a broken game. They didn't do the proper testing. And I can see how that might turn some people off, but again, they have fixed most of it and they're still working on the game. So if you like racing games, and we all know that Linux is starved when it comes to the racing games, so pick it up if you like racing games.
But only if you like racing games. But, if you like racing games, then you might like the Street Racers if you like racing games.